I want to dedicate to this video to some topics that are kind of off the wall. There's like a bunch of little topics, and they are also not very much related. But an unemployed philosopher like me sits and thinks about these things, and they are on the minds of people, kind of like on a periphery uh, of consciousness of the people, and they come up here and there and then they disappear. One topic that I could call intellectual and scientific lag time, or I don't know what else I could call it. I would just call it lag time. Okay, it goes like this. Say, for example, a philosopher or a mystic or a prophet, he makes prophecy for the future, like Nostradamus. And initially, what happens is that it's just gets totally ignored, and there's very few people even pay attention to it. And as things progress and a lot of this stuff comes through, then suddenly there is like a burst of interest, and you know, then everybody looks back and says, "Oh, these ideas, they're natural. They should have happened. In fact, in his time, everybody should have seen that this is gonna happen." But that's not really true. At the times of Nostradamus, or at the like I made some psychic predictions. At the time I made those predictions, a lot of this stuff had not happened, and there were not very much of a grounds for thinking that they will happen. But as the times is progressing, we see that they are happening. You know, there is a lag time in perception of reality. It's like usually the population or the people have this mental construct of how the world was, and then they kind of extend that into the future and think, okay, the future is going to be something like this. But it's like you make a linear plot, and you just follow with your mind, where the linear line is going to go. But that's not reality. Reality, millions of things are happening. Now, if somebody saw what's going to happen in the future, correctly predicted that, imagine that linear line is not really linear, and is governed by like million variables, and there's nothing linear about it. And if somebody knew what the line is gonna do in like 6 months, or that is really truly remarkable. And the other thing with lag time has to do with like scientific lag time. For example, if you watch the Star Trek Old Generation, and you see they have all these devices, and for their times that was science fiction. They would think, oh my god, he has a tricorder and he does all this and that. But I could do more than any tricorder with just my cell phone right now. So if somebody was back there looking at the future, their estimation of the future would be that, oh, we'll have a tricorder, we'll have things like this, because it's a linear progression or linear projection to the future. But the future is far more complex, because there is all this stuff happening. There is all these technologies coming into here. I mean, I don't think that we could even predict what will happen 3 years down the road, let alone even 1 year, very accurately. The, this topic is very interesting, and we should look at it from different perspectives or areas. It doesn't have to be cultural, it can be political. And yeah, I have lived through the Iranian Revolution, and I see how like suddenly a huge portion of the population comes to that aha moment, and things just totally will change. And I believe that I will see that happen in the United States. I have to suffer through it again, but right now this is still in the early stages. Um, the other uh, uh, the other concept that has to do with religion and how many religions have been hijacked. And this is a common mistake that many people make. Like they think, okay, if I believe in this set of beliefs and do this and that and wear certain clothes and my hair is like this, I associate with these guys and that, and you know, or I'll be just like Jesus, or I'll be like Prophet Muhammad or Imam Ali. Well, that's not true. My experience as a psychic and medium is that a lot of these things, events that have happened to these saints or saviors or prophets, whatever, it really happened in their soul. It had nothing to do with the societies that they lived in. I mean, you can read the early Christian accounts. It just you can't help but notice the disparity between the thinking of their contemporaries and what they were practicing. It's like the Romans were one of the most vicious, militant, and militaristic regimes that ever was created. They were just as bad as the Mongolians, extremely extremely vicious, violent. In fact, different forms of violence was used as entertainment. They killed each other. They killed the slaves. They had public sex courts, multiple. I don't know what they call those things. Orgies. Uh, they uh, they had slavery as part of every aspect of their society, and they were at war with almost every neighbor they had. And I mean, these institutions and these forms of governance shows up in U.S. government, and the way it's at war with almost every other country and has invaded almost everybody else, and everybody's afraid or resentful towards them. They're modeling their civilization according to the Romans, but we are in the 21st century. How can you live like that? And in fact, they won't. They won't be able to continue their, because I could extend these arguments to, for example, Saudi Arabia and how they have hijacked the religion of Islam, and the kind of Islam they practice is unrecognizable. I mean, the Islam that existed 14 centuries ago, it was spirituality at its time. But if you just copy that and bring it here on the 21st century, that's not spirituality. I mean, if I bring the tricorders from the Star Trek to our age, that's a museum piece. That's not sci-fi. The same can be said about Wahhabism and the kind of Islam they have and the kind of stuff they practice. I won't even go into the stuff the Zionists do. It just I believe that all these people are disgusting people, and they have hijacked spirituality and encoded it into a certain ideologies. Um, and there just isn't a future for it. Well, I think that what happens is that God or the universe or the quantum computer that runs this place gives these people every opportunity and chance to practice this crap, and the, the God wants them to see what will come out of it, because they won't stop. If somebody by force or by intimidation stop many of these people that hijack religion and use it as ideology to stop, these ideas will still remain in the back of their heads, and another time they will go back to it. Like you can see it in the Turkey, and how the Turkish population is going back to the ways of thinking of Ottomans, and maybe God wants them to fail and see this failure again. Their country is getting totally ruined and is gonna totally fall apart, and it's at war with almost every neighbor. That means this type of spirituality, or which belongs to the museum, it doesn't work, and it's not spirituality for our times. Um, the good thing about being a medium and a psychic is to see, to try to go back to that original experience that, for example, Prophet Muhammad had, and to get that you need to go back to your own soul, to your own, and look at this mirror and what it's saying and what it's doing. Basically, you need to recreate that experience. You cannot rely on these accounts. Those experiences were theirs for that time and for those people. It's irrelevant today. And if you want a religious or a spiritual experience, you have no choice but to do the same thing as the founders did, by going into your own soul, by first practicing solitude, and then by destroying or severing relations with the outside world, and see what this inner being is trying to do or say. It's not an easy project, and that's why there is so much failure. You know, this topic it comes up in many circles in different forms, but it's really never very prevalent in society. One last thing is the concept of lag time with technological advancement, is that, well, the technology progresses very rapidly, many new devices come in. It takes a little time for society to put those things into use, and the first places that they use it is in the military, and we are at a point that our technology is so advanced that a given government, like a U.S. government, or the, or you know, Russians, they could construct drones with artificial intelligence, and you could basically program a machine or a robot or a computer to go anywhere and target the targeted killing of anybody that you don't like. But the technology has gotten to such a stage, but the problem is that, you know, when a given technology arrives, it doesn't arrive at just for the Americans or the Germans or the Russians. A lot of it's like a lot of lines crisscross, and they're at the juncture. Everybody else is pretty much at the same juncture, and if for example, I am programming a machine to go across the world and kill somebody else. Somebody else on the other side of the world can program a machine come over here. I mean, we need to have grown spiritually to deal with this technology and not abuse it. I mean, but this could be our downfall, that we are just a creature that is just unable to adapt to all these resources. We are spiritually not worthy of them, and we'll, we'll somehow find a way to wreck ourselves, or maybe we'll wreck a lot of other people, and wreck a bunch of our own. And I don't know. I think this is the subject that has to do with lag time too. Uh, we haven't grown spiritually. Uh, the other concept that I find interesting is that as the societies become more empowered, like each individual become more empowered, there is a point that a certain decentralization takes place. Imagine that you live, for example, somewhere, everything that you need to get, you can get it off the net. The, there are very few things that you need to go get locally, or have to go beg the government. You follow what I'm saying? Then don't you at some point and say, why do I need these people? Why do I adhere to their culture, to their ways of thinking? They suck. They're stuck in the past. Look at where I am. Do I need them? Uh, it just it becomes a form of decentralization, and I think this will uh, take hold in many places. That it's like water that you try to boil, and the water, the temperature goes up and up, and it reaches 100, but it doesn't start boiling suddenly. Like at some point on the bottom of the kettle there are like grains or places where the water gets more energy, and start boiling from there. And then, but as the temperature even goes higher, or the heat goes higher, then suddenly you see the whole kettle is start violently boiling. So these lag times, they are everywhere, but at some point the humanity realizes these resources, and it's like an aha moment. I don't know what form it will take, but I think that many